Hey everyone, the dialogue here. Disclaimer, this video is based on opinion, not fact. Neil Armstrong, the first man to walk on the moon? Well, some seem to think not. I take a look at his overall body language and his statements that he makes in this rare interview. It's not an interview to say the least. This footage was taken in 1970 for the BBC. Let's take a look. So from the get-go, his hand goes to his face as soon as the interviewer talks about what could be seen from the moon, as in looking up and into the sky. So he's insecure already.
The sky is deep black when viewed from the moon, as it is when viewed from cislunar space, the space between the Earth and the moon.
So that's interesting. The space is a deep black. He's not mentioning stars at the moment. Let's have a look.
The Earth is the only visible object other than the sun that can be seen, although...
Another version with another astronaut from the USA saying that he saw plenty of stars because there is no atmosphere.
So
Yeah, all
because
the
you can
time.
see,
Yeah.
so you can see the stars.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and pretty much all the time you can see the stars.
And here we have Neil Armstrong with Buzz Aldrin and Mr. Collins talking about not being able to see stars.
We were never able to see stars from the lunar surface or on the daylight side of the moon.
Notice how they were all fiddling with their hands? Yep.
Some reports have seen planets. I myself did not see planets from the surface, but I suspect they might be visible.
Okay, so he suspects they might be visible, seeing stars, or planets, as he puts them. But he didn't bother to look up when he was standing on the moon. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
The Earth is quite beautiful from space and from the moon. It looks quite small and quite remote, but it's very blue and covered with white lace of the clouds, and the continents are clearly seen, although they have very little color from that distance.
They have quite a bit of colour from my point of view.
What about the sun? Do you see any trace of the corona?
No, the glare from the sun on the helmet visor was too difficult to pick out the corona. The only time
So the glare from the helmet visor.
we could see the corona was during an eclipse of the sun from the moon. That is when we were flying through the moon's shadow and could observe the solar corona peeking out from behind the moon.
Looking according to the angle from which you see it. Is this so? Does it do this?
Yes, it certainly does. It's a characteristic that we observe first while traveling around the moon in orbit. You can see that at the terminator, at the boundary between...
So he's talking like he's in a lecture room, talking to a whole lot of people, as though he's lecturing about someone going to the moon rather than him being in the moon, going to the moon. He doesn't talk in first person or uses his own personal pronouns at all.
The black part of the moon and the lighted part of the moon. It was as if you were looking at a television set with the contrast turned to full contrast, very black and very white.
Whenever anyone brings in, oh, it was just like a movie or it was just like a TV program, you do have to wonder why they bring in that specific sort of genre of technology. Is it that they're looking at that or they've looked at it to help them form that conclusion to begin with?
As you moved further into the light, there were more and more shades of gray. But as you moved further, such that the sun was higher above the horizon, you actually start to see the tans and browns appear, although at a very low level. Similarly,
So tans and browns, interesting colours.
on the surface of the moon, the same characteristic is evident. You can see browns if the sun is high enough. Apollo 12, for example, landed while the sun was only 5 degrees above the horizon. So when they arrived, they saw no browns or tans anywhere, only fairly high contrast grays.
And so he often looks over to the side, and I don't know if he's looking at a person to give him guidance about what he's saying, or if that's his way of trying to think. But it really does look like he's looking at something.
But yes, I did. The sun was 11 degrees, and Apollo 12 did also the next day when they arose from their sleeping period and the sun was higher. Of course, then the browns were observable to them.
And he talks about them as though the other astronauts were 5,000 miles away from him and he wasn't part of the team.
Did you notice any local colour? And also, were you at all subconsciously worried about the possibility of unsafe areas?
Okay, so we've got a tongue through the mouth, and that can mean one of four things really. It can mean I know something you don't know. It can mean up yours, which is very related to the first one. It could be that he's got dry lips. It could be a sexual thing. In fact, it could mean 5 things. Or it means he's displeased. I would say he knows something that we don't know.
The color is as a puzzling phenomenon on the moon, aside
Again, he's looking at something or someone.
from the characteristics that I've already mentioned. You generally have the impression of being on a desert-like surface with rather light-colored hues.
So you get the impression of being in a desert-like surface. He's being very metaphorical when he was actually standing on the moon feeling this with his hands. He would probably talk about what it actually felt like.
Yet when you look at the material at close range, as if in your hand, you find. Yet when you look at the material at close range, as if in your hand, you.
Interesting how he said, as if in your hands. As if in your hands. I guess you could say it was sort of on my hand because I was wearing a suit. But that's just an interesting statement that he made just then.
And it's a.
He had a bit of a head shake there. He often smiles. And to me, I know he does this when he's a lot older as well. He smiles a lot. And that could be the way he rolls. So there's nothing much to that. But it could also mean a little bit of duping delight.
Charcoal gray, in fact. And we were never able to find any things that were very different from that color. I suspect that as we get more and more samples with future flights, we will see that there is, in fact, some color. But
Do you see that little micro expression that he did? Well, let's go and have a look at it in slow motion.
we'll see that there is, in fact, some color. But
So that, to me, that little look, we'll just have a look at it there.
future flights, we will see that there.
There. So there was a little bit of, I call that duping disgust. I think he's sort of duping disgust about what he's been through. It's just my opinion from what I've seen. A lot of faces that have a lot of disgust up here, but he's got disgust with a smile. So that's what I would coin that as.
Some color, but the optical properties on the moon are most peculiar. Yes, we had some difficulties in perception of
And his hand comes to his face, so I don't know if he really wants to answer that question. It's a subconscious way of saying, oh, here we go.
Of distance.
Or he does seem to be in a lot of thought there, though.
For example, our television camera, we judged to be from the cockpit of the lunar module only about 50 to 60 feet away, yet we knew that we had pulled it out to the full extension of a 100-foot cable. Similarly,
And he moved in his seat there, so he's not comfortable with what he's saying. It's like a shoulder shrug to me. Again, his hands are on his head, or sort of keeping it afloat, so to speak. And he's still thinking to his right. I don't hang my hat a lot on this, but with the eye movement and neuro-linguistic programming, he's looking to his right, and this is the imaginative part of our brain. This is our memory. And he does look this way a lot. Having said that, I think someone's standing over here.
we had difficulty guessing how far the hills out on the horizon might be.
Deep breath and a hard swallow. I always like to dig a little bit deeper when I see a hard swallow.
Peculiar phenomenon is the closeness of the horizon due to the greater curvature of the moon than we have here on Earth, of course 4 times greater, and the fact that it is an irregular surface with crater rims overlying other crater rims. You can't see the real horizon. You're seeing hills that are somewhat closer to you.
And when he said that, you can't see the real horizon, and he had a bit of a smile on his face.
There was a large
Now, when I see large eyes like this and raised eyebrows, he wants you to know something.
crater which we overflew during our final approach, which it had hills of the order of 100 feet in height, and we were only 1,200 feet west of that hill, and we couldn't see a 100-foot high hill from 1,100 or 1,200 feet away.
Did you notice any obvious difference
Okay, so there's a bit of head shaking there, which makes me put a little mini red flag up.
between the far side and the near side? Do you mind kind of? I mean, apart from the obvious difference
And tongue through the mouth again.
in topography.
No observable differences in color, but then the sun's
And he's looking to his right again. It's probably his deep thinking or creation.
angle was always somewhat different over there, so it would be difficult to make a general correlation. I would say the topography is the striking change. Of course, as all your viewers know, there are no seas on the far side of the moon, and it's all highlands and high mountains, big craters, so it's strikingly different from the...
Do you think, from your knowledge of the moon, having been there, that it is going to be possible in the foreseeable future to set up scientific bases there on anything like a large scale?
Oh, I'm quite certain that we'll have such bases in our lifetime.
Oh, I'm quite certain. Okay, so you're getting more, he's using his personal pronoun here.
somewhat like the Antarctic stations and similar scientific outposts.
Now there was a little bit of a raised lip here, and that tells me, usually, not all the time, that there's a bit of contempt there. But he spoke about the Antarctic and how they've got bases there. I'll be putting up future videos on Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, the three of them in an interview, but that will be in a future video. This is my quick analysis of Neil Armstrong. I don't know if he went to the moon or not. I don't have a clue if he did or didn't. I'm not sure what's happened, if America did go to the moon or not. But I have my questions with Neil Armstrong. That's all I can say right now. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe and ding my bell for future videos, and check out my Patreon page, guys. So comment below, what do you think about Neil Armstrong? Did he go to the moon?